Your mom and dad. Your mom and dad. Your mom and dad. Your mom and dad.
Well, welcome home, family.
It's hotter than anything in the world.
It's so hot.
It's so hot.
Welcome home.
Welcome home.
Welcome
It's
home.
your mom and dad. Say it,
Wow,
Lee. It's your mom and dad. You know what? I just noticed
What in
Lee
the
has not been
world?
saying it, and I'm just like,
I feel
what?
like I've never said it.
That's what I'm saying. I just looked at you and realized you hadn't been saying it, and I'm like, are you a part of the team or not? Are you the guy that's in the back going like, I don't want to say it? You know what I mean? Like, oh, you know what's funny? Speaking of that, Ember had like a little play
Yes, she
recently,
did.
and
She was
she had a
phenomenal.
performance, and it was funny because this is her second performance
Yes.
going to this like drama camp she's gone to. And every time, like the first time I was just blown away by like every kid is just like invested in like full energy and so there for it.
They were fantastic.
This last time, every single except one kid was like kind of like folding the arms and like looking at the other kids like, I know, isn't this stupid? Like my mom made me do this. Like it was just funny to watch. Like I was like, oh yeah, I know that feeling when you're like, he was like 12 probably,
Yeah,
and it's like
and
that
you're
awkward. It's like either you
self-conscious.
own it or you're like you have to make fun of it because like, oh, no, there's no way I'm cool with this or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was Lee. So
Lee. I'm sorry if my face looks like I'm about to get sick right now for the past like few minutes for the YouTube audience, because right before we started, I brushed my teeth and immediately ate a hot Takis, and I feel like I'm gonna be
oh my
sick.
gosh.
Oh, no.
So is this new?
I feel like I'm gonna throw up.
Really?
Well, it's just a
Taki
really
and toothpaste?
I mean, the combination of a hot Takis and the minty toothpaste, and then I took a sip of this iced coffee. I'm just like, this should be a challenge on The Bachelorette because I'm gonna be ill.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why would you brush your teeth right before eating Takis? Can you explain that kind of move to me?
Well, I'm a busy woman.
I mean, it's like such a strange move. Usually it's like the Takis, then the brushing.
Well, I brush my teeth earlier, but always right before the podcast, I will always brush my teeth. It kind of gets me in.
Oh, freshens you up?
Yeah, I'm like got fresh breath. I'm in the podcasting zone.
Get rid of some of the film on your teeth.
Gross. But then I immediately ate. I saw the bag of hot Takis right there and I was like, delicious.
Doesn't,
and then I popped it and I was like, that is a horrendous combination.
Diabolical.
Yeah.
Hey, your hair looks great.
Thank you.
She got her haircut, everyone. Look on YouTube to see her haircut. Premiered today.
Subscribe
to her hair. It looks good.
Thank you.
Yeah, it looks great. And then I feel like this is one of the first times in a very long time you came home from a haircut and weren't like almost on the verge of tears.
It's true.
It does look
She's
great.
always like, I think it's okay. It's going to be fine. Hair grows back, doesn't it? And it's like, oh. And then I got to sit there and be
true.
like, I don't know. I don't say now. But this is the first time you walked in. I said, wow, your hair looks amazing. And you were like, I like it too. And I was like,
yeah,
a win is a win.
A win is a win. Honestly, it's true. I don't think there's been maybe 5 times in my whole life where I came home after getting my hair cut and I was like, I really, really like it and I feel good about it.
Mm-hmm.
Even if while I'm getting it cut, I look in the mirror and I'm like, I like it. As soon as I get in my car and open the little mirror,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this was a bad choice.
It's because you're like in people pleaser mode probably, and you're trying to be like, I don't
Probably.
want to make them feel weird. But
Oh,
the thing about
It's
this,
like, I love it. And then I get in my car and I'm sobbing.
like obviously my head is shaved, so I haven't done this in a long time. But I always felt, and tell me, you guys are both long haired. By the way, matching hair.
I
Yeah,
know.
if I get the crop,
yeah,
I can,
Lee has the black hair with the bleach streaks
With
in it.
the
Mine are
bleach
just
streak.
mine are clip-in extensions.
Yeah,
Everyone,
well,
I
you
cheated.
you didn't have to say that. It could be a big secret. But is it just me, or does every time you get a haircut, they're always a little heavy-handed? You always notice that? You're like, I'll just take a little bit off, and then whatever you said, they double.
I
You notice that happens a lot, and then you're kind of sitting there going like, it's a lot more than I expected. It's okay.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes, that's why when you find your hairstylist out there who is your person, I feel like it's always someone who is always a little more tentative, where then you can say, no, you can cut a little shorter, who always is on the fine line of maybe not cutting as much as you wanted. I'd prefer that any day over. Now, what I should do is regularly go to the same hairstylist.
Yeah, what is your issue? You go to a new person every time. It's insane. Like, that's such a risky move.
This is why, okay? It's because I know when you have a hairstylist out there, they have packed schedules, right? And you book months in advance. And what I don't want to do is put someone in a situation where all of a sudden I'm having to cancel last minute because I changed my mind and I don't want to cut my hair and I don't want to do anything with it. So I don't want to be disrespectful to the person's schedule, okay?
Wow.
So because,
thoughtful.
but for me,
Sure.
when I all of a sudden feel like I want a haircut, I'm like, I need to do it now.
It's true.
This, like, within 24 hours. And so I can't, I don't want to be disrespectful of a schedule and cancel or whatever. So then I just will randomly walk into a hair salon and be like, anyone available? That's probably why I often walk out going like, this was not for me.
And probably what happens too is anytime you walk into a place, is anyone available? The person available isn't super busy. And so maybe that's not, you know what I mean? They're like, oh, George never is booked. And you're like, okay, I guess, thanks.
George
is like, hey, I haven't cut hair in weeks.
I one time walked into a salon, asked if anyone was available. Someone was, and this hairstylist, I'm not joking, was cutting my hair with one hand and on the phone, scrolling with the other and like texting. And I was in a cold sweat,
that's when you just
watching
walk
it just
out.
chop so much more. And at the time too, I was having a lot of hair growth issues.
Yeah.
So it was like, not my precious hair that's left. And I was just watching it cut and I was like, excuse me.
They're like, what's up, followers? And they're just like cutting up.
Yeah.
Just cutting hair for the first time in weeks. So excited. Come with me on my first haircut journey. And you're like, what?
Anyway, shout out to the great hairstylists out there, because when you find a great hairstylist, there is nothing better. There is nothing better. That's like a marriage, honestly.
You find a great anything.
That's true.
That's an exciting thing.
It is. We appreciate all the greats out there.
Hey, all the people who are doing great stuff.
We shout out to all the greats.
Shout out to people
Shout
doing
out
good
to
work
all the greats.
across all genres of life.
Okay, we have to take a quick
Okay.
pause. Okay, family. Your mom over here had a little bit of a late night last night, went to a concert for the first time in a minute and had a late night. And I need a pep in my step today. And what I wish I had right now to help re-energize me, I drank them all already, is eBoost's Super Fuel. Super Fuel is a sparkling natural energy drink like no other, crafted with plant-based caffeine and fortified with vitamins, minerals, neurotropics, electrolytes, and antioxidants. It was actually voted best energy drink of 2021 by Eat This Not That. It is phenomenal, and it
So
tastes
good.
so good too.
Yes. Super Fuel contains natural caffeine to support energy and focus. It's non-GMO, soy-free, vegetarian, gluten-free. It has no artificial flavors, colors, or sweeteners. It is made with high-quality ingredients and, again, made with natural caffeine from green coffee seed and green tea to keep your mind and body moving. It also contains 10 essential vitamins and minerals, electrolytes, and antioxidants, and more.
It does it all, honestly. What I love about eBoost Super Fuel is that it's a natural caffeine. Most energy drinks are made from synthetic caffeine, which leads to the jitters and that 3 p.m. crash. With Super Fuel, I don't get either of those. I get sustainable, clean energy. And by the way, again, this is the best tasting energy drink I have ever had. They have a bunch of really amazing flavors. Personally, my favorite is the blue raspberry. It is so good. And another thing I love about it too is I feel hydrated after I drink a Super Fuel. I love it. And eBoost is so confident that you're going to love Super Fuel that they're giving you a 4-pack for free. All you have to do is pay for shipping. Take advantage of this offer today and go to eboost.com/momdad to get your free 4-pack of Super Fuel. eboost.com/momdad. So obviously we are gathered here today to discuss our beloved favorite Bachelorette, Charity, another amazing episode. And we discussed this last week, how fast this season is going. Next week is Hometowns, which is absolutely wild. And we found out that it truly is going to be a short season, which I'm really upset about.
Yeah.
I really wanted it to be a long, long season.
I know. I've been enjoying it so much.
It's so good.
The idea that it's like coming to a close semi soon
It's
is
Hometowns next week.
It is, we get into this more later, but because of the whole Braden, destroying all the cocktail hours, it's like there's literally guys left who have I still haven't met her yet.
It's like, I never met the Bachelor.
Seriously.
No, Braden.
They're like, we're going to meet your family. And the guy's like, dude, to be honest with you, I don't know your name that well. I kind of forget it sometimes because it's like I've hung out with you for 40 minutes once during the first episode.
The producers, what is her name again? Because
and you're like, hey mom, this is God, what is? Oh yeah, Charity. It's like
it's so true that it is the Braden piece, 1,000%.
He destroyed all the options for them to have those moments and those makeouts and the whole thing. Now they never got any of those.
I was wondering why, because obviously there are certain guys that we have now really gotten to know really well this season, but then simultaneously I'm like, I get that this season is short and it's going by quick, but why do I feel like no one's actually had a lot of one-on-one time with her except for a few? Now it's all coming together. It truly is because all the cocktail parties were cut short.
And those if say he destroyed 4 cocktail parties. Yeah. That's 4 times that you could have had 40 minutes with her, made out, talked about something intense, had moments a bunch of off-camera stuff that they don't show. I talked to her 5 times. They only showed 1, right? Oh, whatever. If he destroyed all of them, that means that literally there's Sean and Tanner and the guys have literally been like, yeah, I still have not had a conversation with her one-on-one.
That is so wild.
How wild is that?
And think about how long filming goes, because obviously we only see, an hour and a half.
Yeah.
But they're on their 5th week, I believe.
Yeah.
So it's been over a month.
Yes.
And think about if you're one of the guys who, because of the Braden endings with the cocktail parties, has just been sitting there just I'm finally going to have my moment. And they don't even get a discussion for weeks, over a month.
Tanner's I've never been able to bench press more in my entire life because all I do is just work out in the gym at the hotel. Because he's I'm never with her. So I've just been working out 24/7. I've never seen more of the city. Oceanside, I know it like the back of my hand now because I spent
really
so much time. They don't really ever
let them out much.
That's
They're stuck in their hotel. They're stuck in their hotel. He's bench pressing the little desk in the hotel room. He's just God.
Well, I guess I'll work on this.
Unbelievable. But
I've seen every episode of shows, or can you not even watch TV?
I think it's pretty limited. I think the books are limited. TV is limited. You really don't have anything. And of course, you don't have your phone, so you're not talking to family or anything. You're not emailing them.
Oh my God.
You're just alone.
Just losing your mind.
That's why, like I said, and I know we talked about it last week, but that's why I really think the guys were so over Braden.
Yeah.
Not only was it the cocktail party situation, but also you're just with someone 24/7, stuck in a room most of the time. So then anyone who is going to kind of rub you the wrong way is going to agitate you times 5,000.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nightmare.
Mm-hmm. It is a nightmare.
It's a nightmare.
It's hell. If you're not in the running and you're not you're not one of the top, it's a hell because you're burning weeks not at work. You're burning weeks not doing things and knowing that there's no way I'm going to win this thing because I've only talked to her for 7 seconds.
And it would be so hard if you were doing some serious traveling. Obviously this season they haven't gone out of the States yet. And I don't think they're going to go out of the States until maybe the final episode or two because then now they have the hometowns. But if you're one of the people who you're abroad and you're like, oh my God, I've never been to this place before and I'm dying to see it, and they're like, you can't leave your hotel room, and you're just like, oh my God, you're just looking out the window, just sobbing, just praying to go outside. I just want to explore a little bit of the city. I took a 20-hour flight to get here and I can't even see the outside.
Seriously, put your hand through the crack of the window to feel the rain. Just oh yeah, I remember
putting it on your skin,
taking vitamin C tablets because they don't let you outside.
Emergency every single day.
You're just watching YouTube videos of nature.
Babe, no YouTube videos.
Gosh. Oh.
Nothing.
They're just in dark rooms. I don't know. Not ideal.
You know what else wasn't ideal? And obviously we'll break down this whole episode, but jumping ahead, what was not ideal to me personally was that one of the one-on-one dates, the date with Dotun, he shows up. They, for their date, run a half marathon. That was the date. A half marathon. Now, let me break myself down for just a moment. If I run for more than 45 seconds, I feel it in my throat and I will be vomiting.
Yes.
Like, I can't breathe. I can't talk to you. I show up for a date and you tell me that I have to run a half marathon. I'm like, what you all need to understand is for me to run a half marathon, I would need to have been training for 5.5 years to possibly run a half marathon. And now I'm showing up to a date and you're telling me I have to run. I swear to God, if you were like, Jessica, take me back to my PE classes, right? Where they're like, you have to run the mile. I was 100% that kid who faked sick every single time they're like, you have to run the mile. And the one time that I did actually have to run it, I remember being like arm in arm with my bestie and she was trying to talk to me. And again, after 30 seconds, I was like, you cannot speak to me because I am starting to dry heave. I'm coughing up blood. Like I'm coughing up blood at this point because I cannot run.
Well, yeah. And the thing about running, first of all, way too long.
A half marathon.
How about a 3K? That's like a mile and a half. That's like a walk.
That is so long.
But a half. First of all, I don't know if it was. I think there might be some false information here because I looked it up. It's a 10K, which is still a lot. It's like 6.5 miles. Half marathon is like 12 miles. I know they mentioned that, but I don't know if that's true. Unless, either way,
Evan, if it's more than 300 feet, I'm out. Okay, so you say 10K to me, and I'm like, don't care. Same. It's all the same. A marathon, half marathon, 10K to me is all the same when you can barely
exercise
run.
as a date. That's a wild move.
It's my nightmare.
It's your nightmare.
It's my nightmare.
You know what's interesting
And
is
to have it filmed and be on display for everyone to see.
I've never been a good runner. Like I've never like, you know, like try when I was like young and it was like I was a part of sports teams and be like, oh, we're all going to go for a run. I struggle with running. Not only did I struggle with running, but then the idea of like, have you ever run with a friend? It's like, and they're like, so how's life? And I'm like, what? Well, we're talking.
That's what I'm saying.
Like good.
I'm puking.
So it's like, and then so that's just talking to a friend.
Yeah.
Let alone, let's be romantic and try to connect on an emotional depth. But now, okay, so on paper, I agree. But to counter a little bit, I actually kind of liked, though, the idea of being like, we go on a walk and people serve us beer. And we meet, you know, locals. Yeah, that was kind of a vibe.
The getting the beer part and like getting all dressed up, you know, I'm down for that. But I'm like, but then you tell me that there's a starting line and a finish line and I have to cross the finish line at some point. You're joking.
Now let's talk about this. Do you think that was all BS? Do you think that they walked 300 feet, got the beer, had a conversation, got picked up in a car, drove them to the finish line, they ran across, and it was like, we did it.
I believe.
Because let's think about this. You know how long it takes to walk 6.5 miles? There's no way they went on a 4-hour walk.
I believe in my heart that they did the entire thing.
That would be insane.
I believe in my heart they did the entire thing. And I have never felt charity so deeply in my soul than when she was in the ITM and was like, so, you know, I've got the costumes to make it fun because to me, running,
like, I don't
not
run.
so
Why am I doing this?
Like, I don't want to do it. And all I could think about was the last day with Dotun, where she was like, I hate heights. And now they're like, you're going to have to run a half marathon. And she's like, I don't want to run. And I'm just like, producers, if I was the lead in this situation, I'd be like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah. Like,
absolutely not.
Where's the like, you know, remember it was like shopping and it was like, remember like those ones and it was
like
a
Pretty Woman date.
Yeah.
And you're like, come on.
Where's the like, oh yeah, we're going to the top of a chalet where you'll be served by royalty. She's working out, thrown off bridges.
I'm like, come on, man. I would straight up refuse. And then it was so funny to me with Dotun too, that they were both Dotuns one-on-one. Yes. So Dotun's like, great, a crazy fear that I have to conquer. And now I'm having to run.
That is brutal. Running and jumping. I mean, it'd be one thing if it was like, oh yeah, Charity's known as an extreme sports person and she competed in the X Games for 10 years in a row. But to be like just putting her through all this, it's a little strange.
Well, when
it's
she's saying too, she's like, I don't like to run.
Right.
Now, I understand that, you know, it's the same thing with the bungee jumping. To me, a 10K, a half marathon, whatever it is absolutely an
Any
extreme
K.
sport.
You know what I
It is
mean?
an extreme sport
Yeah.
to me. So I'm like, the same way that I would see life and death being thrown off of a bridge bungee jumping, I see life and death at the starting line of a marathon. I'm
Yeah.
like, I will die. There better be ambulance on board. There better be paramedics because I will pass away during this run. So I get that the adrenaline rush, it connects you with somebody.
100% Jess would like within a mile be like,
faint.
I actually think that I'm feeling something. And this is actually irregular. This is not just like I'm tired. I'm actually finding, what is that? I've never felt that before. We need to, wait, there's something in my leg. This is
have a
new.
rash.
This is new. I don't know what this is. And we need to call the ambulance immediately. Like, you would 1,000% do that.
I would faint.
And then you'd be like, what are they, gurney?
Strapped up.
And Dotun would be like having her like a sled, like running across the finish line.
They would have to put me on a gurney and they'd be like, oh my God, how far did she run? And they'd be like, about, I don't know, 600
I
feet.
want to say it was to the end of the block. And then she got a croissant. And then after the croissant said that there was a problem. So I don't know what that was about. She got an iced latte and a croissant. And then sat down after she ate the croissant, had the iced latte, called a friend. She then said that there was an irregularity with her leg or something and that we needed to call an ambulance, and then took her to the end. So I don't know. I'm not saying she's lying. I'm just saying something feels a little weird about that.
And then
You go to the front and you have crumbs like croissant.
And then
crumbs.
as soon as I pass the finish line, I'm just like, is there champagne
You're like,
anywhere? Because I'm
feeling
really
better
stressed.
now. You're like, I honestly, I know there is a irregularity with my leg and it really does hurt, but like, I think that they're like, well, take some pain medicine. You're like, no. Did you guys have food?
That would be
And then
me.
you pop up and you're like, oh, that's a cute cafe. Let's go over there, have a drink.
I'd be like, oh my God, look at this store.
I'm feeling so much better. I think it's just dehydration. I don't know what it was. It's like,
And that's a day in the life with me.
it's weird. Jess sometimes feels sick, but whenever there's like a cafe around, they definitely like the symptoms really go down. If I'm being honest with you.
This whole tangent is in France to me. Like it's in Paris. Like,
Well, it was in New Orleans. New Orleans.
Yeah.
So, but it's like, but that is.
I'm seeing like cafe beignets that they're
beignets.
passing, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm supposed to be
You're like
running
this,
right
you're like
now.
this, you're like dying, and you're like, oh, and then you're like taking him. You're like, oh. No, but
This
I
is
will
powdered
say,
sugar
just a little look
crumbles.
into our life. There's no question that like if Jess is not feeling good, the symptoms really go. They lessen significantly. Like when there's a cool restaurant or a cafe that we could possibly go to. But if it was like no, I don't. She'll never say I don't feel good enough to go to like a cafe or like a restaurant.
I need sustenance.
it's so real though. Like when you're hungry, you just like your body shuts down. You're just, like,
Yeah.
But it's not even about hunger. It's about Jess just liking cafes and
I just
restaurants.
like the vibe.
Yeah, it's the vibe.
The vibe isn't good. On
No,
this,
it's
on
the
this-
vibe. It's not even about the food. It's just about like, oh, I like kind of a restaurant moment. That's 100%. You can't even deny it. She can't even deny it right now. If it wasn't true, she'd be like, stop. What are you talking about? But she's laughing so hard because it's 1,000% true. Same goes with Katie. Aunt Katie, we're talking about Aunt Katie again. If she wakes up in the morning, she's like, oh, I do not feel good all day. Oh my gosh, I feel so sick. And then Katie goes, hey, do you want to go out to eat? You're like, I don't know. I think I just need to kind of clear my head. I think that's what the issue is, babe. I'm like, okay.
It's stress sickness.
It
needs to be. There's the salve of a restaurant. Okay, there's a salve.
Salve of a restaurant. That's you know what that is? That's your memoir. The salve of a restaurant. That is your autobiography.
You know what? A quick way for you to inspire me to fully clean the room is to be like, we can't go to a restaurant until the room is clean. Now, would I listen to you?
Yeah, I was gonna
Hell
say
no.
you'd be like, haha, done. And then you're like off to a restaurant.
I love a restaurant. But that would have been me during
Yes.
the run. And shout out to Charity, man. I mean, Charity is
Howard.
just, she is just an absolute queen. And she is out here and they're making her do the bungee jumping and making her run when she doesn't like to run. And yet she is just having the time of her life regardless. Now, granted, it makes it easier when you are with someone that you have a crush on.
course,
You know,
of
you
course.
can motivate yourself to do things, but shout out to her because I was like, my goodness, Charity, if I was you, I'd be like, oh my God, you know, I think I'm not feeling well. I need to go back to the hotel room. And then
Yes.
I'd be like, sorry, Dotun, the date is over and I will be at the hotel bar ASAP.
Yeah, they pull. I don't know. This bit's so funny to me. I think it's just hitting home, but you know, like they would take her in the ambulance and like gurney her up to her room, and then everyone would leave, and then like a producer was like, "Oh, I forgot my phone in her room," and then they come back and she's at the hotel bar just like chatting, and they're like, "Wait, what?"
That would be me. They'd be like, Jess is out there. She's got an Aperol spritz. She said that she thought she had the flu.
She's by the pool.
I was like, the seltzer helps. The
Yeah,
bubbles.
I had my tummy. Woo!
Anyway, I thought we were going to get started quickly, and here we are.
That was fun though.
Half an hour into the episode.
Let's do it. Let's get into it.
I do have to say this before we do officially dive in as well. Jesse Palmer was not shown for 1 second of this episode.
I mean, I don't understand.
We didn't see
Not
him
even a date card. Not even hey.
1 second. In fact, not a date card, not a rose ceremony, which by the way, I love that they switched that up and didn't do the rose ceremony. It was like new and exciting and so fresh. But I was laughing so hard when we did not see him for 1 second, and every date card, the men would open the hotel door and they would have a small like nightstand, a small table made of marble just sitting outside the door with no one to be seen with the date card on it. Jesse Palmer was replaced by a small nightstand outside of these hotel rooms that was embossed in gold.
The studios are probably like, well, you know, this is kind of working out. And it saves us a ton of money.
Like Jesse Palmer or a nightstand.
And they're like, the nightstand was $47.99. Jesse Palmer is way more expensive than that. I think we're going to go with the nightstand on this one. And no one's complaining about it? Okay, I think we're going to go nightstand.
I was laughing so hard that they showed that when the door would open, I'm like, they could have just had the guy walk in with the date card. The fact that they showed every time they opened it and there was a small nightstand with the card waiting.
Then during the reunion,
and no one in the hall.
During the reunion, they have them like come up and there's just a nightstand in the middle of the reunion, and then everyone just walks up and like reads cards, like random questions, and like, next up, this reunion's brought to you by, and then like they read the sponsors and they're just doing all the work, and they're like, wow, this is great, this is working out.
Jesse Palmer versus Nightstand.
Jesse Palmer versus Nightstand.
Now, I like to imagine that the reason that Jesse Palmer was not in New Orleans is that he decided to stay in Oregon because he was like, producers, family, I am this close to catching Bigfoot. I feel it in my bones.
It's calling out to me.
He's like, you guys gonna give me 24 more hours? And they're like, JP, we gotta get going. Like, obviously we're on a limited schedule here. We have to go to New Orleans. Like, next week is Charity's hometown dates. And he's like, you guys, one more day. Let me go out. The last time I went out in my Sasquatch costume, and I swear to God, I felt something. Like, you gotta let me back out there.
He's like, me and the BFC boys are hanging out up in Washington, and they're like, BFC? Well, the Bigfoot crew. And we come from all over the world, you know, and we're meeting up, we're finding the one. And they're just like, okay, dude, well, just so you know, we've been talking to some of the bosses and they have bought a nightstand. And he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, to replace you, we're going to see how it goes. And he's like, I'm willing to take that risk.
For the love of the game.
He's like, for the love of the game. Me and the BFC boys have started Me and the BFC crew have started what's that thing you raise money on?
GoFundMe.
A GoFundMe to fund our salaries while we're here, because we are doing
the Lord's
real
work.
research to find.
I like the idea that he just needed 24 more hours because he was so close. Or production was like, had a meeting and they were like, hey, we got to be real with you. Jesse Palmer, like, it's too far. Like, he won't shut up about this. Like, we told him we're not going to do a Bigfoot date. We let him have his moment where he talked about it when he introed the city to the boys. We let him have his costume moment. Like, it's the obsession has taken over him and he won't shut up. So we're just going to casually leave because we can't do it anymore.
Yeah, he's
it's
obsessed.
Too much.
And then after this episode, anytime they need to get him in line, they just send him a picture of a nightstand. And then he's like, sorry, I'll be there in because he knows that his career flashed before his eyes.
They just send him a photo, and in it they just Photoshop Bigfoot's foot wherever they are, and they're like, "You got to get here, JP.
Dude,
we think we spotted him.
here."
Bigfoot's on the move."
Oh my god.
He's like, "I'll fly anywhere."
They're going cross country. Insane. All right, let's get into this recap. Enough of this insanity.
Okay, before we get into the recap, we have to take another quick pause. Okay, family, you all know we are well into summer. We really are. We're deep into summer. And if you're a parent or a caretaker, you also know that this may be around the time you really are trying to think of cool activities for the kiddos. Well, we have your perfect answer and activity, and it is KiwiCo. We love KiwiCo in this family. KiwiCo is defining the future of play by making it engaging, enriching, and seriously fun. They create super cool hands-on projects designed to create a lifelong love of learning among kids.
You might know KiwiCo as a monthly subscription that delivers monthly hands-on projects for kids, but now you can go to kiwico.com/store to find tons of creative projects and ready-to-play activities. From engineering robots to exploring science of cooking, you can choose the exact crate that you want without a subscription.
It's amazing. At the online KiwiCo store, you can pick projects that match your child's specific interest. We got Ember the paleontologist kit because she's super into dinosaurs. She absolutely loved it. And if you can't decide what to get your young adventurer, there's a simple quiz to find the perfect crate. And there are truly so many fun options. KiwiCo offers kid-tested, kid-approved activities for all ages, from developmental play for babies and toddlers to hands-on science, art, and geography for kids. You'll also be surprised at how high quality the project and materials are too. Seriously. These are real engineering, science, and art projects designed to be accessible and age-appropriate for kids.
Find the perfect hands-on project for your family at the KiwiCo store. No subscription required. Get 20% off any store crate with promo code MOMDAD at kiwico.com/store. That's 20% off any store crate with code MOMDAD at kiwico.com/store.
Support for today's episode comes from Jenny Kane. Perfect timing, honestly, because it has been hot, like we said before, and I have been thankful for and living in my flowy and lightweight dresses and cardigans from Jenny Kane. For real, it has been my day-to-day uniform. Jenny Kane is a California brand through and through, and their summer staples make getting dressed easier than it's ever been before. Think minimalist and effortless, but totally refined. Truly, my Jenny Kane pieces will stay with me forever because these pieces are such great quality, and they also are just such classic styles that you know you'll be able to keep them in your closet for forever. You'll wear them forever. They're always going to look good. And again, in any season, but this one especially, their dresses are the it item. I am obsessed with the Cove dress and road dress for summer occasions, and their new day dress is quickly becoming one of my faves. Plus, everything in their collection is designed so intentionally that you can style pieces together without a second thought. I love to pair a Jenny Kane dress with one of their classic sweaters for a look that's effortless and so easily put together. Honestly, if you go on the Jenny Kane website and you mix and match their clothing, they truly make it so that you can effortlessly style your wardrobe. Everything works so well together. I love it. I love it.
They also have a stunning collection of home essentials, timeless furniture pieces, cozy throws, perfectly curated decor, and the most incredible candles. They have an incredible rewards program where you can earn up to 10% back with every purchase, and joining is completely free.
Find your forever pieces at jennykane.com. Our listeners get 15% off your first order when you use code MOMDAD at checkout. That's 15% off your first order at JENNIKAYNE.com, promo code MOMDAD. JennyKane.com, promo code MOMDAD. Let getting dressed be one less thing to worry about. Okay, let's actually get into the meat of this episode. This episode that actually truly was... It was a very historic episode because we had a 2-on-1 that ended up not getting a rose in the end, that got extended, and then someone gets sent home early, and then there ends up being a 3-on-1, and then the rose was, I mean, it was, Charity is out here giving the people what we want. Charity gives us the best Bachelorette.
Well, she just does what she wants, and I think that's the thing. You don't feel the peer pressure from her. You just feel like she's doing what she wants. And she's saying, I'm not playing by the rules. Like, I don't have to give anyone a rose at all.
No.
And she says that multiple times. I could take the rose off your chest if I wanted to. I could give it to you or not give it to you.
I was like, hell yeah, you can. There was a moment too where she said in the past with relationships that she has found that when she is having, like, she can have a hard time making decisions, and then that's led to problems in relationship.
Yeah.
So you see her actively, and I was even thinking about that with the Brayden end of everything, where of course there's a chance that producers were like, you need to keep Brayden.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't, and it was like, yeah, I have a connection with him, like, again, she said, in the past, I have been indecisive and that's led to problems. So I
Yes.
feel like you see her going, no, I'm going to keep someone around. No, I'm not going to give out a rose yet because I want to find my person at the end of this, and I'm going
Yes.
to do what I want to do. And she's also giving us top tier Bachelorette by when she's about to give a rose, like to Xavier, where she's like, I don't have to give this rose. And then you're like, she's not going to give Xavier a rose. She's leaving us on the edge of our
Yes.
seat in moments. She's giving us moments that with, I think, other seasons, you would have just a quick rose
Yes.
giveaway and you'd know it was coming, where all of a sudden we're on the edge of our seat going, is she
gonna do it?
not
Yeah.
going to do it? And
or,
is she
they
going to
would
take
give
it
it
away?
to like the best of the worst, where it's like, I don't really like you that much, but I like that person less, so I'll just give it to you. As opposed to
Exactly.
being like, neither of you.
God, it's so good.
Yes.
It is so good. So they are now in New Orleans, like we said before. They are staying in the States. I have to tell you, though, I have never been to New Orleans, and I've always wanted to go. So
Yeah.
I was definitely feeling some serious jealousy. I wanted to be there
I've
so
heard,
bad.
it's funny. I haven't really spent any time there either. And it's like, I've heard nothing. My friends who spend a lot of time there are like, it's the best.
That's what I've heard, too.
They're like, it's
just
one of
the
my favorite
best.
cities ever. It's amazing. So
Should we stop podcasting right now and go on a
Let's
family
go.
trip, Lee? Let's go. We're going.
Let's go.
We're going. Well, someone who also loves New Orleans is Aaron B. And apparently, Aaron B. lived there for many years, and the city has stolen Aaron B.'s heart. I was also thinking, too, Aaron B. currently resides in San Diego.
Yes.
So we're basically doing a tour of Aaron B.'s hometowns. That's what we're doing on the map is Aaron B. But he was feeling very strongly about wanting to make sure that he gets a date in his city of New Orleans. And he was just crushed time after time.
he was tripping. He was not doing well.
And I loved the idea of him being in the hotel room or when they're having to relocate with Ubers and buses, where he's just telling everybody every detail of every place he's ever gone, and all the guys being like, okay, that's enough, Aaron. Yeah, we know that's where you had your first kiss over there, and
Yeah.
we love you, man, but like, it's
We don't
too
care.
much.
So let it go. Oh, the beignets here are the best. Stop. We got to go in. Say hi to my friend Jerry.
There was a moment where they hopped on the bus to go meet Charity, and the other guys hop in front of him, and you hear him go, up, first public bus ride. And you know he's doing
Yeah, he's doing his thing where he's just like, my town. And you're like, no, you lived here for 3 years in college. That's not the same.
I think that he lived there for like 7 years.
Did he? Okay.
So he was there for a minute.
God,
but,
that's a long time. Yeah.
But I just was laughing at the idea of just being like, hey guys, first Uber in New Orleans.
Yeah.
First step into the hotel in New Orleans.
Normal stuff. First poop. You do number 2? Oh, nothing better than a number 2 in New Orleans. I remember my first number 2, blew that toilet wide open. Nothing like it here, man. Nothing like it. Sorry. Did you go pee? Oh, good. You gotta do a New Orleans pee. There's nothing more epic than that.
But he was feeling devastated. And he did let us know too that it's been a month since his date with Charity, which again is wild to think, having that first date. People always talk about how, oh my God, it's so exciting. And the first date typically is someone who goes far. But then you have that long lull where you're trying to hold on to hope that your connection is still there with that long amount of time in between.
You know my thought. If first date / first impression rose,
I know.
kind of the kiss of it ain't gonna happen for you.
But
You get in
again-
your head, you think it's happening, you get ahead of yourself.
But again, Bachelor data reports time and time again. Our queen, she reports that it always looks good, or at least they go far.
Oh,
But I think you do get in your
I
head.
think you get in your head because
Yeah.
you see them losing their minds because
Yeah.
you're like, wait, I thought we had something special.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
anyway.
Well, he's struggling in this episode. But I have to tell you, all of these guys really hold it together really well.
Yeah.
There were so many moments in this episode where I feel like with other guys in the past, you would have seen explosive meltdowns. You would have seen big fights happening.
Yes.
You know, especially with the Tanner Sean situation. I felt like we saw Sean on the verge where it's like, oh, he's gonna lose it. And I can't lie, I was kind of hoping a little bit that he was
Snap. Yeah.
But everyone really kept it together very well. And even though Aaron was struggling, you know, he didn't go to charity and have a full spiral.
Right,
he was just processing it in his own space.
Yeah.
I did want to say, I saw in an article, I apologize, I forget where it was from, but Aaron Clancy, who is besties with Aaron B, said that he's bummed out that they're not showing the funny side of Aaron B, because Aaron Clancy says that Aaron B is one of the funniest guys he knows.
Wow. I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, Aaron B seems like a great guy. Funny is not the thing that comes to mind.
Comes to mind either. But
maybe the least funny guy on the show.
Maybe, but
from what we've been shown.
What we've seen of Aaron Clancy is that, you know, Aaron Clancy is the king of the comedic relief on the Bachelor stage. So I can't lie and say, I don't know how much I trust Aaron Clancy with all the things in life, but what I do trust him with is things that are nectar and knowing what is funny, probably, because the man's hilarious. So
maybe, but then you ever have that friend that's like, you gotta meet my friend Kevin, he's so funny, and then you're like, you meet Kevin and you're like, Kevin is not funny at all, and you're like immediately judging your friend who thinks they're so funny, and you're like, I don't understand why you think he's funny, because one time 7 years ago you guys had laughed really hard, like, and now he's funny forever.
Maybe Aaron B always laughs at Aaron Clancy, and so Aaron
guy's
Clancy's
so funny because
like,
he thinks I'm funny.
Aaron Clancy's like, the guy has the best sense of humor. He's hilarious because he's always laughing at Aaron Clancy.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. That you just nailed it. Yeah.
And scene. Thank you.
Yeah.
So they are getting their beignets. Well, they're actually not getting their beignets. They are at Cafe Beignet having their drinks, and Charity comes up, and lo and behold, it is not a date with Aaron B. It is going to be a date with Joey. Now, later in the episode, everyone says they're surprised that Joey got this one-on-one date, but I was like, he didn't ever really technically get a full one-on-one.
No, but he won the makeout thing, and then he got kind of that afternoon, and that was literally like 2 episodes ago. So, I mean, this is the issue with this episode is that like...
But that's not a one-on-one date.
It's not a one-on-one, but it's the closest thing you can get to it.
True.
I guess he won a challenge, and I guess that is the difference.
But then Sean was just like, I can't believe Joey got a one-on-one and I didn't.
Yeah.
And I was like, you guys had essentially the same kind of thing, right? Like Sean had his moment with Charity on the pier.
I have a whole thought on Sean. Okay. I have a whole thought on Sean. We'll get into.
Okay, we'll get into it. But Joey has his one-on-one, and they are in a carriage going around the city. Joey is just top tier. Yeah. Joey is handsome and lovely and warm, and I have to tell you, he is giving me Tyler Cameron energy. Not in the sense that I feel like him and Tyler Cameron are similar, but in the sense that I could see him becoming a forever heartthrob for Bachelor Nation.
Got it. Yeah, my thing with Joey is that he's just, you know, when certain people are not insecure, and so it doesn't, or I'm not saying he isn't insecure, we're all insecure, but I mean, like, certain people wear their insecurities.
Yes.
In how they act. And I think one way that you can act insecure is when you are very set on getting your opinion across constantly, or interjecting, or making sure that like your voice is heard in every conversation. He's the opposite of that.
Yeah.
He never interjects. He never cuts her off. He's always listening. Like, you know, certain people are like, certain people kind of listen, but then they're kind of waiting for you to be done so they can say what they want to say. Which, I mean, I'll be honest with you. That's basically what podcasting is. That's basically what podcasting is. Just like, when do I get to talk again? So I guess maybe more I feel like I'm aware of that because I know that, you know, from doing this and stuff that, like, you know, that can be something I can do sometimes, is wanting to talk. So watching him, just being able to be sitting in it, and no matter what she says, he's ingesting it. He's listening to every word. He's then digesting it and then like responding to exactly what he's not trying to appease her. He's not trying to just make her feel good. He's just there. He's extremely present. And because of that, his energy could not be more calming.
You're right. The presence, he is very present. And it's that active listening.
Super active listening.
Like, you're actually ingesting what I'm saying. There's no glazing eyes that are happening.
Because every time he talks, it's in direct response to what she's saying. And I think it's, I don't know. It's a pretty, whether they're going to work out or they have enough chemistry to make it all work is one thing. But one thing I will say is that the dude is like an inspiration when it comes to being present with someone and listening.
No, absolutely. And I've noticed that too with the men in the house. When they have the moments where you're seeing them in the hotels, you'll see him ask the men certain questions about how their date went, and he's always leaning in. Like, and the way that he's engaging is quite wonderful.
It is.
It's pretty magical.
Why are you smiling? She's smiling because she's like, you should reach out to him and see if he does lessons.
Is he offering lessons?
The smile was creeping on her face.
Is there a Joey masterclass?
Go to a cafe already, all right? Go find a cafe. No, but he is incredibly present. It's crazy.
Yes, he really is. And he's a great person to have on a date like this, going throughout the city, having fun experiences. They have a tarot card moment, which we love to see. And then
poetry.
They get a poem in the moment. Instant poetry. Now, this man is asking some deep questions. He's ingesting this, and then he presents them with a poem.
Yes.
Watching them read it out loud, I had two thoughts. One, that makes me feel a little uncomfortable. Like I have to react in a really positive way to the poem. I would love.
Oh, okay. So the pressure to be like, you did a great job.
You know what it is?
Poem.
It's the serenading thing. It'd be like, oh, I'd love to take the poem, the beautiful poem you just wrote us, and I'd like to walk away and read it without you looking at me and being about, inches away from my face, that I have to react to your poetry. And it was a beautiful poem. The man crushed it. The second thought I had was, I don't know if you remember that our dear, dear friend Zach Shallcross had a moment where I believe him and Katie wrote poems to each other.
Yes.
And I pictured Zach Shallcross sitting there reading this poem out loud and being like, this isn't a poem, it doesn't rhyme.
Yes. Roses are red. Violets are blue. I like you. Let's make out. Thank you. Oh, thank you.
This man writes this gorgeous poem. And Zach's just like,
red.
It does not rhyme. It is not poetry.
Roses are red. Violets are blue. I like your bikini. Can we do more tropical so I could see you in bikini more? Roses are red.
Sorry, Zach.
I love you, Zach.
I feel like I'll forever go back to Zach. And you know why? I feel like I don't know the man, but I just feel like he's a good sport.
You know what? We started this podcast on him.
It's true.
You know
he is our forever.
So he's a founding father of our podcast.
And we'll always go back. And we love that. We love that about you, Zach. But the poem was very beautiful, and they have their moment. And another moment where you see Joey active listening, fully engaged with this poet on the streets, this poet laureate just on the streets.
Also very comfortable at complimenting and looking in her eyes, which I felt like I might be uncomfortable with. Where the poet's like, so tell me about her. And he's just like, he looks right at her and he goes, she's amazing. She's this, she's that, she's this, that. And I thought, ooh, I have some more therapy work to do, because if someone looked directly in my eyes and just told me all the things they liked about me, I think I'd have a hard time ingesting that. I'd be kind of like, I don't know where to look. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, don't do it now. I'm just saying. I saw that look in your eyes. I was like, uh-oh. But you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of an intense thing to do, is just look right at someone and be like, yeah, it's very intimate.
It's very intimate. So they end up, the rest of the one-on-one date. I do have another side note that I do have to make, and I would like to reach out to ABC, the franchise, and say, I believe that there should be a season where the focus is ghost hunting versions of The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. And they've had dates here and there where you have like, a spooky date. I want a whole season. If we're going to stay in the US, let's not, why not, instead of the whole Rock of Love idea, we can do a full
haunted
spooky
mansion,
tour,
maybe.
a haunted Bachelorette or Bachelor season where you're doing a full spooky tour the entire time and everything is surrounding spookiness, hauntings, Ouija boards. JP could have his Bigfoot moment. We can have lore, all of this
Bigfoot
going
Lodge.
on. Yeah. They go to Area 51. I feel like it's a great idea.
I think it's a great idea. It's a lot. Maybe an episode, but like
no, I want the
an
whole
entire
thing.
season.
Do you know how many amazing haunted places there are around the United States?
That's true. Terrified of Love coming this summer.
Ooh, I like that.
You know what I mean?
And it can all be people who are really nervous about getting married.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go, producers. You can have that one for free.
Something to think about. But then Joey and Charity have their night portion of the date where they start to get into more intense, deeper conversation. She brings up meeting Joey's family. And something that I thought Joey did that was very good and very communicative, pre-communicating, was that he let her know that his family has seen him get hurt in the past, so they might be protective, but he wants to make it clear to her beforehand that it has nothing to do with her and that she's amazing. And I felt like that was very intentional, very kind and smart to do. I felt like that's kind to a lead because so many leads step into a situation where the family is very defensive and protective because they're like, our son, our daughter got really, really hurt. We don't understand this process. And then the lead walks away and is feeling like, is this about me, and taking it personally. So the fact that beforehand, Joey's saying, just FYI, I've been hurt. They might be protective of me, but no, it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
So that Charity can walk in with that feeling.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Again, it's back to that thing. He doesn't just say things
Yes.
to appease or to make things feel better. He speaks the truth. He thinks what, I think she senses that big time from him.
Yes, 1,000%. Another example is later in the evening, Charity addresses interracial relationships in this current climate. And it was an extremely powerful conversation that Charity was willing to have. And obviously, I'm a white woman, so I can't speak into how Charity felt with the way that Joey then handled it. But it appeared that she felt very seen and supported by him because he was listening.
Yeah.
And his response wasn't like, oh, I know.
Yeah. Two things I really liked about that conversation.
Yeah.
One was her bringing up the fact that her ex, it was ignorance. She said it was like ignorance was an issue. And what I loved about her, first of all, was that she sat in it. She wasn't, she said what she said. They spoke for a little bit, and then she just sat there.
Yeah.
And she just kind of ingested what he was saying.
Yeah.
And then what I loved about what he said was he didn't tell her he didn't tell her, oh, I don't care, or it's this. He didn't give her like the line to like calm anxiety. He said, I don't know. I've never gone through that, but I'm here with you, and we will take it one step at a time. And you know what I mean? It was just a very like mature, honest. I'm not trying to give you a line that'll make you put your anxieties down. I'm just going to be real with you and say, I'm right here with you. And I thought that was like the only way to like do it healthily and not, give someone a bunch of lines that make them feel like, oh, everything's fine. It's like, he just was being honest. And I think you could see in her, she appreciated that so much.
1,000%. And they sat in it together. And then he asked if she needed a hug, and they had that intimate moment together. So that was a really powerful conversation, and Charity just being willing to, put out the emotional labor to have this conversation on public television. It was a powerful conversation, and a really powerful moment in the show. So she is in her ITMs. I mean, she is crying. She is there. He tells her that he is falling in love with her.
Yes.
And she gives him the rose. And with the two of them, I feel like my prediction with the two of them is I feel like they have this really deep connection together, and they're two incredible people. And I do think they have a chemistry. I feel like that chemistry will honestly maybe become more of a friend energy. I don't know.
I agree.
I feel like
that.
There's a deep intimacy between the two of them, and I feel like I don't see him walking away being her fiance, but I do see them walking away in a really loving way that they'll be connected in a sense for forever and friends for forever.
I'm feeling the exact same way.
Yeah.
Like almost like she, probably more for her, where there's like this, everything about you is perfect.
Yes.
But there is a missing like total romantic element.
Yes.
Like,
no, I think it's for her too.
Yeah. I'm sensing from him that he's very into this, but I just sensing from her that there's like this, I am so drawn to you. I like you so much. I like the way you kiss. I like our everything. But there is just this like, I don't know if you're my husband.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's like, we would have dated if it would have been normal life.
Yes.
We would have dated for a summer, had a great time. We've been friends forever after that. But I'm not seeing like.
And I might feel differently if there wasn't a Dotun, for example.
Yeah, I think that's more the issue is you're seeing something to compare it to.
Yes. Yeah, where I'm like, that connection just seems so deep and so like otherworldly, another life we were together energy.
Well, it seems like Joey, just with the extra added thing on top.
Yeah.
Which is like true romantic connection. So, yeah.
But love the both of them.
Love them. But yes, I would not be shocked if he gets maybe to the very end and like she chooses Dotun over him kind of energy.
He's another one. Big potential bachelor energy.
Big everything energy. I could see him being on any version of the show again, you know.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine if he's on Paradise? I feel like the women will lose their minds.
The only issue is that he's not like 6'4", and I feel like these days, if you're going to be the Bachelor, you have to be like super tall.
We have a rule.
No, but even in the first episode, he was like, "Whoa!" He's looking up. He's like, "Everybody's so tall." I almost do feel like there's a rule like you got to be over 6'2" to be like the Bachelor.
No, but by the way, let me make something very clear. I heard him. I believe it was on Bachelor Happy Hour. I apologize if I'm wrong about this, but he was being interviewed, and they asked him how tall he was, and he's 5'11".
Right.
And he even made a comment where he's like, I'd love to say 6 foot and just, whatever. He's like, but I'm 5'11". So think about that. That's tall. He's a tall guy. 5'11" is a tall guy. That's how
that
tall.
That shows you how tall everybody is.
And he said, I was so short compared to everyone. So everyone in there is like
6'4". Yeah.
So
and then Dotun's
wild.
like, I think 13 feet tall because he's like hitting lights as he's walking by.
I was really noticing this episode, every doorway. I'm like, the guy has to duck under every single doorway. Like, wow. But anywho, loved their date.
Sorry, that was my clinking straw, and I'm taking it out now.
Okay, moving on. Okay, before we get into the 2-on-1 date, let's take a quick pause. So family, listen, we all just have the one body we are in, so it's important that you love on it and you take care of it. And that's something I've been really trying to do and looking into lately. And now that I've been looking into it, did you know what I found out? About 80% of your immune system is located in your gut and digestive tract. So healthy digestion is essential for overall health and wellness, which is why I've been taking Optigreens 50 from First Form. Optigreens 50 is a precisely formulated green superfood powder meant for overall immune system support and digestive health. It's a low temperature processed 100% organic grasses. 100% of the greens ingredients are all grown and manufactured in the USA, and it has 50 hand-chosen ingredients effectively dosed. And let me tell you, the taste and the texture are actually good. I am extremely picky when it comes to this type of stuff, and I can tell you I actually enjoy the taste and texture of it, which is wild for me. Their taste and texture are like no other product on the market, not gritty, and has a sweet berry flavor from natural flavors.
In fact, they are so confident in the flavor that if you don't like it, they offer 110% money-back guarantee. Send it back if you don't think this is the best tasting and highest quality greens powder on the market, and they'll give you your money back plus 10%.
I mean, that is confidence, and it is good. Visit firstform.com/momdad. That's firstform.com/momdad. That's the number one stphorm.com/momdad to get free shipping through this link on any orders over $75. firstform.com/momdad. So you all know how we feel about our dogs, okay? We worship them, we adore our dogs, we love them so much, and we want to give them the best life possible, all the walks, the beach times, the cuddles, and feeding them the best food. And that would be the farmer's dog. The farmer's dog makes and delivers fresh, healthy dog food. It's recommended by vets, nutritionally balanced, and made from human-grade ingredients in safe, clean kitchens. Our dogs go absolutely
They lose their
wild
mind.
for the
Lose their
farmer's dog.
mind.
When we started feeding them the farmer's dog, we saw the difference immediately. These
Backflips.
dogs are doing backflips when they see this food.
Traditionally dry and wet dog food options are extremely processed. You can use much lower quality ingredients than they claim, and it's really hard to know what the right serving size is. The farmer's dog is higher quality food, sent pre-proportioned specifically for your dog based on their unique nutritional needs. And a fresh diet has been found to have all sorts of benefits from healthier coat and skin to better breath and even easier digestion and smaller, better poops.
I love the farmer's dog, and like I said, our dogs are absolutely obsessed with it. And the farmer's dog makes it so easy online to make sure your dog is getting individually what they need. And the food also comes in packaging that has your dog's name on it. It's very, very cute. I love it. Help keep your dog happy and healthy for all of your adventures together with the farmer's dog. Get 50% off your first box at thefarmersdog.com/momdad. That's thefarmersdog.com/momdad for 50% off your first box. Thefarmersdog.com/momdad. All right, on to our 2-on-1, okay? Which obviously everyone was saying, can you imagine if they would have done a Braden Aaron 2-on-1? It would have gotten wild. A Braden Aaron 2-on-1 in the bayou with the alligators would have gone off.
Someone might have not left. An alligator. Someone might have got thrown over to the alligators.
I know. I was like, it might have gotten real intense.
Yes.
Now, this date, I can tell you, I wouldn't have wanted to be part of a 2-on-1 date, but a date in the bayou, seeing alligators, I would have loved that.
That is really cool.
That is so cool. Now, would I have gotten destroyed by bugs because bugs love to drink my blood? Yes, I would have come back with all sorts of bites from the still waters, but I'd be obsessed. I love a gator.
It's an interesting thing. That's something you don't do all the time.
It's very exciting.
You know what I mean?
And these men were very in their head and stressed.
Yes.
So I felt like they weren't able to really relax into how fantastic this date was. Also,
Sean had the quote of the day, in my opinion. He
Tell
goes,
me.
man, that's a lot more alligators than I thought there'd be. It's like electric. You know what I mean? Like that's something you say when you don't know what else to say and you're on edge. You're like, wow, more alligators than I thought there would be. Like, yeah, that's true. I was thinking that too. It's like, okay.
Filling space.
A lot
Also,
of water out here.
Want to acknowledge Captain Tom. Loved Captain
Huge
Tom.
fan of Captain
Huge
Tom.
fan of Captain Tom. Also, Captain Tom was ready to throw his hat in the ring for charity.
He was. He was like, let me tell you something. If they don't do it, I will. You know, like, let me know if she's single after this. He was the real deal.
He was everything. The producers were like, so do you think that she has a connection? He's like, yeah, there was definitely one that was talking a little more that I think that maybe she had more of a connection with. But you know what?
If she wants a real man, come on down to the swamps.
He's like, I would
We'll
not
give her a
mind.
discount on the ride
Now,
all year long.
that would have been a moment where if I had the opportunity as the Bachelorette, if I was like, I know I'm not going to choose Sean or Tanner. I really don't know them well enough. I don't have this deep connection. I'm going to throw the audience for a loop, and I will be giving Captain Tom a rose, and he
I like
will
that.
be getting brought back to the hotel. Can you imagine the men? All of a sudden, they're like, who's coming back on the 2-on-1? And in walks Captain Tom.
Good evening, gentlemen. His voice was awesome too. It was just like, let me tell you. It was like growly and like low.
I loved him
He was
so
great.
much.
He was
And he
amazing.
provided this gorgeous crawfish spread at the end of it. I mean, just
out of a bucket.
It was a full service experience. You got to see the gators, you went around in the boat, and then he had a full feast for you afterwards.
This is my bucket that I keep my tools in. And they're like, what? Grab any bucket you like. They're like, thank you. Like trying to eat out of his gear bucket. That guy's great.
I loved him so much. So that date ends up wrapping with the gator tours, and we see a rose, by the way, during this date portion while they're with the gators. But she does not give anyone the rose and says, hey, let's all go to dinner. And Sean does get a moment where he does interrupt her ITM with a makeout.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, if you're Tanner, also, like, that's such an awkward situation where you both are being told to leave and the one guy you're on a 2-on-1 with runs in, gets a quick makeout, like what are you supposed to do? You can't, because then you're like, I want Charity to know that I also want to have that moment with you and I'm not trying to ignore you. But then there's this weird thing of like Sean runs, interrupts an ITM, makes out with you. What am I supposed to do now? I can't run after him and just be like, me too. Like, no, you just gotta have to then walk away. It's just...
You know what I would have done? I would have done the thing, you know how people, you can like turn around and then make it look like you're kissing and like making out with someone? That's what I would have done for the camera. I've been like, oh, sorry. Like I would have made fun of something like, well, it's like I'm here by myself, so I might as well do that.
I'll just make out with myself.
Yeah, or I would have ran over to Charity and made out with her right after and been like, me too.
But I feel bad for Tanner because it was like, I mean, I get it. If I was in Sean's position, you do what you got to do. But then Tanner's just kind of like, okay, the guy who's had the least amount of time by a mile. Yeah. So then they end up going to the night portion, and it is wild when Tanner and Charity are sitting together that you're very much like, this is a one-on-one or a first night conversation.
Yes.
You could feel that they have not spent time together, or just they've had moments
it was like,
together.
So what's your favorite color kind of stuff? You know what I mean? The real hard-hitting questions we've talked about earlier. It's like they were just starting the convo.
They were really starting to get to know each other.
And you could see that look on her face, just kind of like, oh, like we're so far behind with these guys. It's like...
Yeah. And Tanner, in my opinion, just seems like such a stand-up guy. Mm-hmm. Like, I know we haven't gotten to see a lot of him, but I feel like everything we've seen of Tanner, he's had some funny moments. Yeah. And now in this situation where then Charity ends up saying, at the end of all of this, her conversations with Tanner and Sean, Charity ends up saying, I can't make the decision yet. I still don't know what I'm going to do, so I'll see you guys later. Mm-hmm. And doesn't give out a rose on the 2-on-1, which is iconic, legendary, loved it. Tanner walked away going, great.
He had the biggest smile on his face when she didn't give a rose.
He was thrilled because he's like, this means more time. This means a potential cocktail party. Guess what? No Brayden this week. So maybe we'll have a cocktail party. And he truly did end up getting to have more time with her because then they did the 3-on-1. But from his perspective, he's like, this just means more for sure time. And I felt like seeing him operating through this whole journey, he's the one guy who hasn't gotten any like actual one-on-one time. And I feel like a lot of people on this show would be having spiral meltdowns, and he has really held his shit together. If you think about the guys that are tripping right now because they're like, oh my God, it's hometowns. He is a steady man. He is not tripping. He's not pulling Charity aside going like, what are you doing? He's just like, you know what? She's an incredible woman, and I want to be able to spend time with her, but if it's not right now, it'll be later, and I'll take any moment I can get.
Yes.
He is top tier to me.
I agree. I just think he's like, I think he's a slow burner. I think that he's a guy in natural life would be a slow dater. You get to know him. He really starts to come out of his shell. You guys connect. You see the depths of him. You see the sides of him you normally don't see, blah, blah, blah. And I think he would be an amazing partner. I think he's a really great guy. I just think for the show, he's not fast enough. He's not able to just jump in and get right there and make it happen quick. And I think that certain people aren't built for this show. I would say most people aren't built for this show. That's my only thought about it, is like...
I hear you, and you might be right, but I also think that we don't know, because he didn't get any time.
He also didn't but he also wasn't like fighting for it. That's what I'm more saying is like, it just doesn't seem in his personality that he's like going to fight for time. He's going to fight for attention. You know what I mean? Like, he could have taken the time on the boat and been much more like Sean was much more aggressive.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he did the right thing. I'm more just saying like he could have been fighting for attention more, fighting for the looks more. And I just feel like the guy's awesome. He's just tempo wise wasn't able to kind of capitalize. It was more like he was kind of trying to survive a little bit.
I mean, you could tell he was very uncomfortable on the 2-on-1 date.
That's what I mean.
He seems very much more one-on-one energy guy.
Yes.
Because we have seen a couple brief moments with them together, and they were making out, and they seemed to be vibing. I think sure.
I think his potential is huge.
Yeah.
It was just, I think the Brayden thing killed him. He couldn't get it. He couldn't recover from not getting those times.
It's true. And on top of the Brayden thing as well, now that I think about it, most all of the group dates did end in a losing team goes home. And I feel like he always was just getting sent home.
Yeah, it just truly was unlucky on the show. Yeah. In a lot of ways.
But again, the way that he interacted and his reaction to not getting a rose on the 2-on-1 and it getting extended. And then even, I know I'm jumping like way ahead right now, but when Charity does end up sending him home, and she goes to his hotel room and sits down with him. He's so gracious, and he has a moment in the ITMs where he's like, her heart is so big that I didn't want her to see me hurting because I know it would hurt her. And I'm like, that is just
very different energy than Sean.
I mean, it truly is. And I feel like, I don't feel like Sean did not have a meltdown, to his credit. I have feelings about Sean, but Sean did not have a meltdown, and I feel like he handled it well as well. But that comment from Tanner, to have the emotional intelligence to be like, she has such a big heart and I care about her and I don't want her to be more stressed seeing me hurting, is very gracious.
Yeah, I agree.
Shout out to Tanner.
Shout out Tanner. I like him a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Really calm energy too.
Me too. But on the flip side, Sean is disappointed. Sean is upset. He makes it clear that he told her everything he feels like he could in regards to how he felt about her. And if then she doesn't know yet, then where is their actual connection and what could it be? Yeah. And he is starting to trip out.
I mean, I can get into this, but my whole thoughts for both of them is that Tanner, when she didn't give the rose, he was ecstatic because he was like, I thought I was gone.
Yes.
You could just see the difference. When Sean didn't get the rose, he was devastated.
He was convinced he was.
Right. He was convinced it was a lock. Tanner thought, I didn't really do that well today. We didn't barely talk at all. It didn't work. I'm gone. Then he thought, oh my gosh, at least I have like another afternoon or something to survive. Tanner to me seems like a really stand-up guy. He seems like a sweet guy, a little in his head at the end there, a little slow moving when it comes to like getting her attention. It's not his style. But again, super stand-up, super sweet. Sean hits me like, I think Sean is operating more on, I don't want to fail at this show. That's what it feels like to me. It does, and not in a mean way. I'm not like saying he's malicious or bad or anything. Honestly, my whole theory about him is that this is all about his dad. and just hear me out. And even Tanner kind of mentioned it. He was kind of like, Sean is tweaked because he's not winning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's the thing is I'm not seeing Sean like talk about how much he likes Charity. I don't see Sean.
I mean, he's saying it a lot in front of the guys. Where he's like, I'm ready to take her home. I'm ready to take her home.
But he's not saying things about her. He's not saying the connection they have. Like he's definitely overstating their connection too. Like they've barely interacted and he's talking about how amazing their connection is, how much this, and that, and the other. And I feel like he's operating in the world of like, he really wants to go far. Yeah. He wants to be, it's almost like he wants to be chosen. There's almost like this, I really want to be chosen. I want to make maybe my friends proud at home. Like I want to go far in this thing. I don't want to fail. Like it feels much more about that than like his connection with Charity because he's getting frustrated when he's not getting chosen for stuff. He's getting irritated when he's not getting more time, but it's not because of his connection with her. It's almost like I don't want to get forgotten in this process.
Yes. Even when he ends up coming to her hotel room later, he tells her that he is essentially falling in love with her. And I was like, that's pretty wild because you guys have not spent like any time together.
And what was interesting about that hotel situation, which I thought was the big giveaway, is that she said, I'm sorry, I don't feel like I have a connection with you. And he goes, if you gave me the chance to have more of a one-on-one, I think we could get there. And I'm going, if you're on a date and you're trying to convince someone to have a romantic connection with you, that's kind of strange. You're not going, oh, well, what can you do? Or that makes me sad, or I'm going to miss you, or I wish we could have worked out. He was like fighting to get her to like him. Yes. And I thought that was an interesting thing. It didn't feel like he's in like that he's even talking about her anymore. It was more like,
I hear what you're saying.
Don't send me home from the challenge yet. Give me another chance. I can still be a strong team member. Like it almost felt like he was on Survivor and he was trying to convince his team to be like, don't send me home, or like, we got this, just one more hill.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I totally hear you.
Give me a one-on-one and I promise you'll like me then. Like it felt like, I don't know. That was the difference where Tanner was like, I get it. We haven't had enough time together. We tried. But it wasn't about failing or winning to him.
I hear you. Yeah, I totally hear you. Yeah, no, it definitely is like, Dad invested in my energy drink like we talked about last time.
Yeah, it just felt
Dad invested in my energy drink and it didn't go well. So like, I want to make sure that this goes well.
This is already hard for me to be on this show, so I might as well win while I'm at it to prove to him that obviously that's like a fake narrative, but I'm more saying his energy gives me like not really even talking about the dating.
Yes.
It's just about getting on the next episode.
I also definitely I have my personal thoughts about Sean because I believe that Sean was giving us Bachelor in Paradise audition.
I think he would be perfect for Bachelor in Paradise.
I believe that he, and again, I do think he handled everything considering really well.
He didn't freak out.
He didn't freak out. He didn't spiral. He wasn't losing it at the guys. He wasn't like, he was
on edge. He was about to. We felt like there's one move away from him snapping.
Which made me feel like if he does get on Paradise, I could see him it could be perfect. So dramatic on Paradise. Yes. I could see Sean on Paradise being center of the drama.
He's built for Paradise.
He feels really built for Paradise, and I felt like there was a big Bachelor in Paradise audition. And I will tell you, I hope he goes because I do feel like we will see it will be a dramatic. There will be a showdown. There will be drama with Sean on the beach if he is in Paradise. But he's upset. He's sitting at that table with the glass.
Yes.
He was just like, I am not happy about this.
How could you be happy about this? Yeah.
How could you be happy about this?
Because Tanner was smiling. He's like, well, I don't know what your problem is.
You didn't win. So how are you happy about this? Yes. I hear what you're saying. Yeah. I hear what you're saying.
My thought.
Well, the next day when when Tanner and Sean are unloading to the men, we see Tanner talking with Joe and he's like, honestly, I feel glad because this, and this. And then we see Sean, and Sean entered what I would like to call his Silicon Valley startup guy era. Sean went from the cashmere sweaters and the slicked back hair and the necklaces to the Silicon Valley guy glasses, disheveled hair. He was wearing the Apple Store type vest, and he was giving me big, like, I had this startup, it's not going well, and now I need to pitch my startup to this company before it fails energy. Like,
he was giving me Nantucket boat owner. Guy who bought a boat, a little too expensive though, but he's like, his whole thing is about being on a boat and like having the boat. But he gave me big boat energy, like East Coast boat guy. It's like the glasses with the vest is like the biggest, like.
Well, he did say on the gator date, he did say that there are a lot of gators at his golf course in Florida. He said,
whenever you say my golf course, that means Papa's membership.
Daddy's got the cash.
And he's been put on probation a couple times because he flipped the golf cart multiple times with his friends, and his dad had to pay off some people at the course to keep him on the guest list. My course. When anyone ever says my course, yes.
Correct.
That is a different energy.
But his energy, I was just dying laughing because he's on that balcony and all of a sudden his whole energy shifted and his look shifted. And I'm like, this guy is ready to pitch his company because the funds are draining. And he's like, I'm feeling a little nervous, guys. Okay, we got to go in. We got a big meeting today. Big meeting.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Anytime you say my golf course and you don't like think to yourself, maybe I shouldn't say that. That's when you know you're deep. By the way, this isn't like anything personal. It was just, he's kind of a cliche. Like, if I'm being honest with you, he's got cliche energy. The way he dresses,
the way it's cashmere.
Right. The way his hair is, the way he dresses, the way he acts. He's like a cliche trust fund kid. Like, he's got that energy. So it's hard not to like comment on it because his whole energy is just like, how long am I going to wait for a table? I never wait for a table here. He's got that energy of just like, they know that we know the owners, right? Okay, it's fine. Whatever. It's fine. I said I wasn't going to freak out today. The prime rib was it was a little well done. Normally not that bad. Is Kevin the chef today? Okay, interesting. He's not. Okay. Thought they would have told me by now. He's just got that like energy. Is like, I'm trying not to be pissed that like the boat was not fueled before I arrived. Now I'm waiting, having to have a champagne. I'm on my third glass while they fuel the jet.
Empty stomach.
I'm starving. I hope he's doing meal prep on the boat because by the time I get on, I'm starving. Like, you could tell that he's like trying not to say that stuff.
He's gone to so many galas.
So many fundraisers.
So many fundraisers.
That his mother puts on.
He is the king of the fundraiser. Yes 1,000%.
His mom is big in fundraisers. And he always has to go to them. And he hates them.
Ding, ding, ding.
I don't know, it's a fun, obviously we took it far, Sean. We have no idea, but
you
it
know
feels
what?
like that.
Well, and maybe we'll get to know you better if you're on Paradise, my guy. And if
Yes.
you don't go to Paradise, well, you know that you apparently have a career or a career goal path with your singing, and hopefully we're going to get an album here soon. Yeah. So while the guys are unloading with the other men, we end up finding out that Dotun is getting his second date, his second one-on-one, back-to-back,
A real
baby.
blow. A real blow to the men. To see that he gets another one, that was like the little win that was in their sails is gone.
They're like, you got to be kidding.
Like, again, you just had one.
You just had one.
That's the last episode. That's crazy.
Fantastic production.
It's just beat you while you're down.
Fantastic production.
It was awesome.
Obviously, we went over their half marathon date.
Yeah.
But these two, Charity mentioned during the half marathon date, which I wanted to point out, she said that Dotun is so interactive with everyone that he's around, which is, by the way, a green flag to me. I think that when you're dating somebody, it is important to have them around your friends, around people that you care about, even just out and about to see their dynamic with the people around. And you always see Dotun when they're out engaging with people, having light, fun conversations. It's just great energy. And then they have the night portion, and this was a tens across the board moment. Another absolute home run with Charity and Dotun, because Dotun is talking about how he is so excited for her to meet his family. He's excited, and he's been wanting this from day one, but he does tell her that he has fears in this process. And then he lets her know that he's figured out over the past few weeks that the fear that he has stems from a fear of failure that he's always had. And that anytime he wanted something and went for it, that it feels like he never got it.
Yeah.
And his connection with the fears that he's having in this moment on the show, to then getting to a point of realization where it's like, oh my God, it's my fear of failure. This man is so emotionally connected to himself that this is the process that he's having throughout the stress of this scenario. You're traveling everywhere. You're having to interact with people 24/7. And instead of just being like, yeah, I'm really nervous about this process because obviously, like, who knows what's going to happen, and marriage is a big deal, that you go inward enough to be like, actually, I've recognized it's my fear of failure.
Yeah, I mean, he's position A by a mile.
I mean, therapy king.
Therapy king.
And then she shares with him how she feels similarly. And he lets her know that through this process, he's learning how to unlearn these things from Charity. It's my chills moment. He gives me my chills moments every time. And he said that he's learning that sometimes a good thing is just a good thing.
Yeah.
And that was a moment where obviously I was taking notes, but I wrote that in my phone too.
Yeah.
It was like a reminder of like the connection of the fear of failure, and then just sometimes accepting that something can just be a good thing sometimes.
And then she proceeds to be crying happy tears. Like, that's pretty next level. When you're crying because you're so grateful and happy about someone, that's some serious like connection.
And that's always what she does with Dotun.
Yeah.
She always cries happy tears with Dotun.
That's crazy next level. That's why, second date, she's like, sure. Production's like, we're gonna do a second date. She's like, no problem.
She like, sounds great. Is it
Should we
done?
wrap this whole
Thank
thing
God.
up now? Yeah.
Honestly, and the thing about the two of them with this conversation that I took away from, like, as someone in a long-term relationship and all these call homes that we'll do sometimes, something about the two of them, and obviously I don't know if these two walk away together, I'm like, it seems so blatantly obvious that they do. It makes me feel like it's not going to happen, which is making me super nervous.
If it doesn't happen, that'd be shocking. And if it doesn't happen not because of a problem, then it will have to be like a crazy upset. Like something happens to where somebody comes out of, like Xavier or something comes out of nowhere, and like they just have this transformational connection that happens in the next couple of weeks, because they seem just her and Dotun seem so far ahead of everybody else.
They're so deeply connected. But a thing that I walked away with from this conversation is that every time these two have like one-on-one time together, the conversation leads to learning and growing together. And it's always like, I'm learning from you. I'm learning from you. When they're talking about the half marathon, it was like, you pushed me, I pushed you. And I feel like the best part of any relationship, the best part of any healthy relationship, whether it be romantic, friendship, family, is the growing and learning part. Because that's what life is. And that's, I feel like, where you access the best parts
Yeah.
of life is when you're learning and growing. And we've
What gets
always
you past the honeymoon phase and just, the attraction and all that stuff.
and
It's
again,
like,
even too in in a friendship, like when there's the stagnantness is where there can be problems,
Yes.
right? But life is about learning and growing and moving forward together and bettering oneself, whatever way that might look like. And I feel like the two of them, that's such a focus, is like learning and growing together.
Agreed.
And damn, everybody.
Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Should I turn the air on?
Yes,
a little
please.
hot.
Sorry, everybody. It's it's so hot. Melting. It's going to be like this, everybody, for the upcoming weeks, likely. We can maybe do an hour and a half without the air on, and then...
It's like the boiling frog. Because it's not like you're not immediately just like sweating and dying, but all of a sudden you just your head starts to like go down and your speech slows and you're like, why am I? You're like, oh, it's like it's just been going like 1 degree every minute over the last
why am I
like
starting
half
to feel
hour.
more and more calm and sleepy? You're like, oh, it's because it's boiling in here. But Dotun then tells her that his heart is screaming that he is falling in love with her.
Yeah.
And what I noted, and I think this is why I brought up the Joey piece earlier, is that with Joey, obviously, like, she was crying and there was this intimate connection and they were making out. But when Dotun told her that he's falling in love with her, it seemed to me like her beaming energy was a little more intense.
I feel like she just said it back with her eyes, like me too.
Yeah.
Like I'm in love too.
Oh,
That was the
said
energy.
it back with her eyes.
You like that?
That was romantic.
That's for you, babe.
Thank you.
You deserve a cafe now.
Thank you so much. Yeah, there were just so many moments. Charity
Yeah.
said, I can't put into words how you make me feel. Just know it's a million good things. Wow. I was just writing it down like crazy. It was it was watching a romantic movie, but this is like a real, I know we're watching a reality TV, but this is real conversation that's not scripted between two people. And I'm like, I swear to God, I'm watching a romantic movie. It's just so fantastic. And they go outside and they make out under the stars and there are no bells and whistles of a band and music playing or any like performance. It's literally just the two of them, and it is like it's better than
Beautiful.
music.
Yes, it is.
I'm trying to be poetic now.
God, and it is the sweetest tune.
And then she says, "I'm the happiest girl," and he says, "I'm the
That was
happiest
cute.
boy."
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh God, my heart! I can't handle all this love. So back with the men, they're waiting to see if Dotun's going to come back. Sean is like, if Dotun has a rose pinned to his chest, I'm going to lose my mind. He never does. I was waiting for the moment. I really was. But they get a group date card. Aaron B's obviously devastated. With Sean, Tanner, Aaron B, and Xavier, Dotun shows back up and is letting them know what they did. And he's like, yeah, we ran a half marathon. And Aaron B's like, yeah, the Crescent City Classic. I know it well.
I'm aware of it. I've run 347 times. It's my favorite thing ever.
Would you stop and get beer too?
Yeah, exactly.
I assume you ran by the best beignets in the city and fully ignored it because you didn't know.
Because you didn't know.
And I would have stopped her and told her about him.
I would have told her the history of the beignet in the city. And that would have been what made us fall in love. But you actually got that opportunity, so forget it.
So this is the time then when Sean decides to go to Charity's room, like we've already discussed. It's the first of its type in the season. The first person having a alone time with the one-on-one, go into their room. It never works.
Never
It
does.
really doesn't.
You're trying to convince someone to like you when they don't. It's tough. I mean, it just is what it is.
And like I said, we already covered it, but she ends up sending him home.
Yeah.
I'm sure we will see him in paradise. And then they have their group date. This is an interesting turn of events. Charity has 2 roses on the table. So she says she's going to be saying goodbye to someone. So we find out no rose ceremony. Again, historic, iconic. JP was out, you know?
JP was stoked. He was like, oh, I'm gonna stay in the pool then.
No, he's like, more time with Bigfoot.
Yeah,
more time in
true.
Oregon.
BFC.
Aaron and Charity have their moment together, and he lets her know that he's been struggling, but handled it super well.
Yeah.
Very confident, no spiral, no prove to me that you like me. He just lets her know, like, yeah, it was hard when everyone would come back, and of course they had that post-Charity glow.
Yep.
It's like, good.
Yep.
It was good. He
Cute.
handled it very well.
I thought so.
Very well. Tanner and Charity have
Yeah.
a few moments together. And then there's Xavier.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Okay. So Xavier is now sharing with Aaron B that marriage is scary. One of the biggest tells that I found between the Brayden Xavier difference of I'm not sure if I can do this. Obviously, Brayden there were all sorts of other things, but what Aaron B locked in with was you're not ready for marriage. Why are you here? Xavier shares that marriage is scary with Aaron B. This could have been Aaron B's opportunity to go to Charity on this 3-on-1 and go, Xavier just said that he's not ready to get
I was
married.
gonna say, you gotta be careful, Aaron B. Aaron B will tell.
But I think this is what showed me that there was a lot more to the Brayden piece, is that Aaron B did not.
Yeah, right.
And this was a much more precarious situation. Like, this is hometowns. It's a big deal. I think the difference that you can see is that Brayden clearly was saying all sorts of different things in the house that we weren't seeing. A lot of, I'm packing my bags, a lot of, I don't know about her type energy, the classless comment, all of this to the men with their hours and hours together. And so I think this is a tell that shows that Aaron B was genuinely like, dude, this guy, we're not vibing with him, just FYI, Charity. And that Xavier is not in the home saying, I don't think I'm ready for this, and speaking differently in the home versus how he's speaking to Charity. That was one of the big tells that I picked up.
I mean, I think Xavier's a completely different person. He's much more mature. It's less chaotic. He's not wrecking people's, whole show experience. Like, it's such a different thing. And I think that
100%.
he's proven to this point with Aaron B that, like, he's a serious person that is taking this whole thing seriously. I bet what it is.
100%. I'm just saying that that was the thing that Aaron B then locked onto was not ready for marriage. And
it would have been epic, though, if Aaron B would have been like, actually, I just want to let you know, there's still someone here now for the right reasons. And he's just the guy that takes everybody out. But no, I think the Xavier thing was interesting. I thought that it was a risk to say that, knowing probably in his head that, there was multiple guys who have already confessed their love and had multiple dates. It was a risk. She could have been like, I don't have time for this right now.
Yeah,
like, I'm
100%.
already at the end here. I don't have time. So
we're going to hometowns.
So the fact that she kept him was, I thought it was a really good calculated risk on her, her side, being like, you know what? No, I still have a really strong connection with you. We might survive this. Who knows? But my thought with Xavier was like, maybe that, like, he was one of the last serious guys there of, like, the 4, you know what I mean? And he's probably feeling like, am I in last place a little bit? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, am I in last place in regards to our connection, our time?
Yes.
I barely got the rose last time because she was a little nervous, so maybe he's feeling like, I'm a little nervous to get married to you because I kind of know you the least. You know what I mean? That was kind of the energy I was getting. Was like, if I had as much time and connection as other guys, I wouldn't feel this way. My feeling was that it had more to do with the fact that he felt like I made it. But I don't feel in the lead here.
Right. I feel like these other guys have a stronger connection.
Yeah, and so as it stands, I'm a little nervous to get married to you because I feel like we know each other the least out of everybody here. Yeah. That was the energy I was getting.
Totally. Now, there's the one piece that is like, maybe he's really starting to question stuff, and he might end up removing himself. We do have a clip that we saw from farther in the season where she's saying somebody came back and he's not leaving, and he, like, maybe Xavier's like really questioning this, and he's like, and then ends up leaving and then shows back up. Who knows? So there's that. And I saw some people online kind of being like, the fact that he's bringing this up later is like hard for the lead. This is tough with Charity, which I totally understand if that is the case. What energy I was getting personally, could be very wrong with this, but what energy I was getting is that their last one-on-one together, which was just last week, Charity got really vulnerable with him and told him what her big fears were. And with the infidelity she's experienced, and she let him know how important honesty and transparency are for her, and that is huge for her. He told her, I'll never lie to you. Like, that's not what I'm going to do.
Right.
So what energy I got is from Xavier is like, okay, last week Charity tells me how important honesty and transparency are to her. It was almost to me like a risk where I felt like maybe he was just like stepping up to that for her. Where he's feeling, oh my God, next week is hometowns, and in a few weeks she wants an engagement. I don't know if I'm there yet. I don't know if I'm ready. Marriage is scary. He said, I want to do this one time. I'm kind of processing the odds of all of this. I'm feeling nervous, which I think every person on this show, but of course has those feelings to a certain extent in the back of their head because this process is wild. And instead of just keeping those internalized, I think because she asked him for full honesty and transparency, I felt like he was just taking a risk and being like, you wanted honesty and transparency. I'm going to give it to you. Yeah. And I'm nervous about this. And I don't know. And marriage scares me. And I don't know where I'm going to be, but I don't want to lose you because you might be the one. Because then in ITMs after he shared that with her, he wasn't like, oh God, is she going to send me home? He was like, I think she really appreciated how honest I was.
Yeah.
He said that in ITM. So I took that like he was doing that to show her that he's being honest and transparent with her. That's how I read it.
Got it.
Now I could be wrong and he could be like really on the fence and next week be like, I don't know if I can do this. And but it felt to me like him acknowledging what she wants and stepping up to that.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see. But obviously she gives Aaron B the rose.
Yeah.
And then pulls another iconic move and goes, by the way, I can't choose right now between Tanner and Xavier. I'll see you guys later. Amazing. They don't then end up even having a rose ceremony. She goes to Tanner's room. She breaks up with him. He handles it beautifully like we talked about earlier. Yeah. But then she goes to Xavier's room and we have a moment like, is she not going to give it to Xavier? Yeah. But I do still sense with her, and she shares with him that their past one-on-one really meant so much to her. But I still feel the trepidation, and especially then after he said,
"Yeah, I'm a little nervous."
I'm a little nervous. So we'll see if then,
unless there's a thing, he's gone next week. Unless there's some sort of like major transformation, there's no way he makes it past next week. The other three are just too far.
But she did say at the end of she said in the preview for next week's episode, she's like, the guy that I'm sending home is going to be shocked. So I'm like, is that Xavier? But he was almost, she almost didn't seem like she was maybe not going to give him the rose. So is that the shocking person? When she said that, I felt Dotun in my gut and I was like, no.
I felt Joey.
No. Oh, really?
I don't know. I'm just going shocking. I'm kind of going, Dotun, there's no way Dotun's going home.
Then she was like, he's going to be shocked. And I'm like, who's going to be
Aaron
shocked?
B then. Actually. Because hear me out.
I feel like Dotun's like the one shocked.
See, I feel like Dotun, is locked. He's
for at least top
husband.
2. Yeah.
Joey is a little of a different vibe. And I think she's excited about it. I think Xavier is like her exes. Mm-hmm. So she's nervous about it. But she's super hot for him. Mm-hmm. I think Aaron B is a little bit like, with her, I don't see anything about their connection that's like special compared to the other three.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, he's so serious about it and he's very intense. I think that's when he'll be shocked because he's kind of very intense.
Yeah.
And he's not really like catching. I don't know. That's my personal thought.
You know what it might be too? You might be right about this because his hometown might go really well.
Right.
And it might be fantastic.
Yeah, but she's just kind of like, you know what?
And he might be like, that was perfect. And then, okay. Because when she said that, I was like, if it's Dotun, I'm going to lose my mind.
I'm freaking out.
I'm going to freak out. I'm going to freak out.
There's no way it's him.
I have to say, just predictions for this. I have to say, I assume it's Dotun.
Right.
But because it seems so blatantly Dotun, I don't know. Maybe it's Joey. Maybe it's Xavier. I don't think it's Aaron B.
I think it's Braden. I think he comes back and they've been texting this whole time with secret phones and then they rush off to Petco Park. They get season tickets to the Padres. They love it. We'll see. I'm excited.
So, anywho, next week is Hometowns, which is one of the top episodes, because that also then means that the week after is Fantasy Suites, which is the best.
Wow, get it on. It's going to be nice. I'm excited.
I cannot
I'm
wait.
loving this. I love Charity so much.
I love her so much. She's so fantastic. This season has been so good.
So good.
It's one of my favorite seasons of all time by a mile.
Yes. It's
by a mile.
Really enjoyable to watch. It's got everything.
It's got everything. I love it. And it's getting me actually really excited for Paradise too, because I'm assuming a handful of the guys are going to be on this season, and I really have enjoyed so many of the characters that I'm like, oh, I can't wait for Paradise now.
I mean, Braden and Sean are two characters we gotta see.
We gotta see him.
All right.
So tune in on Friday because we have another episode. We got a second ep. And then make sure next week you tune in on Wednesday for our hometown recap.
Baby.
Let's do a call home. Call home.
Hit it, Lee.
Remember, you can always call home.
Hi, Mom and Dad.
Hello.
My name is Kelsey, and I'm loving the new podcast.
Thanks, Kelsey.
Jess, I feel very connected to you because not only are we very similar personality-wise, we are also from the same city in Orange County.
Oh,
which is rare because it's a very small town.
I wonder if I know you, Kelsey.
But anyway, I am
Sisters?
looking for advice with my boyfriend who is long distance. He is a concert photographer, so he's often on tour, but he also doesn't live close to me. He lives a little bit of a nomadic lifestyle. So he lives like part-time up in Reno, Nevada, part-time down in San Diego, and kind of just bips and bops around a little bit. I struggle a lot when he's on tour. I have good days and bad days, like days where I really, really miss him and days where I'm thriving on my own. But it's really hard still to be that far away from him. And when he's not on tour, I still don't get to spend every day with him. So I was just seeking advice on what you guys think I should do to cope with it. Me and my boyfriend have talked about it a lot. I do find some happiness and peace in that I know that he is my forever person.
That's so
I have
sweet.
no doubt that he is like my twin flame, my person. So there's no worries within our relationship, our connection, but it's just that we don't get to spend that time that we want together. And this is his career. It's not just a living situation. It's also a career that for the foreseeable future isn't changing. So I'm just wondering what you advise me to do. Thank you guys. Bye.
Thanks, Kelsey.
Obviously, I work with 95% touring people. So I see a lot of relationships that work, a lot that don't work, a lot of issues, a lot of good things, whatever. The things that I take away are big different. Well, okay. I think that you have to kind of ask yourself a question, which is, am I cool with his lifestyle or am I waiting for it to be over? Because fast forward, get married, have kids. Whatever issues you're having now will probably be significantly more difficult.
Yeah.
So if you're kind of in this like, I'm waiting for the day he slows down and doesn't want to do it anymore and and I'm kind of banking on that, even though we haven't talked about that, even though he's not showing any signs of slowing, like you can't operate in this concept that like he's just going to slow down one day probably, right?
Yeah.
You have to, it has to be like agreed upon and talked about.
Yeah.
So if you're like, I love him so much and I'm willing to put up with this, I'll be honest with you, that's tough.
It is tough.
You have to be accepting and like totally cool with the lifestyle and be like, yeah, I went into this lifestyle. I'm okay with this lifestyle, but if you're just kind of counting the days when he's back and like you're kind of waiting for it to change, that's going to be really tough. So you have to ask yourself and him, what's important to you? If you're like, I'm cool with this for the next 4 years while he grinds it out and then he's going to switch over to a more like domestic photography to where he can stay in town and do weddings or local bands, or he wants to shoot his own art, whatever it is. If there's a plan there and you're cool with that, then keep, then rest in that. But you cannot not deal with that issue and just think that because he'll get older, he'll slow down or change. Because I work with touring people and these people, and like a lot of touring people like tour for their whole lives.
Yeah.
And you don't want to wake up with 4 kids one day. I'm just guessing. I'm just like throwing it out there and being extreme. But like you don't want to wake up with kids one day and be like, we never dealt with this, and now I'm resenting him. Now, where is he? Now, you don't want to go through that process. So now is like a really pivotal time to have conversations with him about like, is this what you want to do with the rest of your life? I don't want to change you. And then you got to ask yourself, could I do this for the rest of my life?
Totally.
So real honest conversations about what he wants, what you want, and then put those things in action. But you cannot just kind of, I don't want to ruin his career and make him feel like he has to change, but I also don't want to like kind of talk about it because it's like stressful and I really like where we're at. It's like, you got to know that one day you will wake up and need to have talked about these things. Yeah. So that's my personal take on it.
Yeah. And if you don't, it gets really hard. And I'll be the first to admit it firsthand. That's what happened with us. Like when you and I were dating and then when we got engaged and got married, at the time, Evan was like deep in the performing end of music. And so you were gone a lot. And it was a lot of, whether it was, you know, out of state or like crazy late nights and the schedule was like where we were ships in the night. Full transparency, I did what you were talking about, Evan, where I was like, it'll end one day.
Yeah.
And so instead of just being honest with myself about being like, okay, can I handle this if this is what he continues to do for the rest of our relationship, I basically was just like, oh, well, one day it's gonna change and it'll be like a 9 to 5 and it'll be, you know, whatever. And that led to a lot of struggle in our first few years of marriage when all of a sudden, you know, you're having to be gone all the time and I'm going, wait, what? And then you're going, wait, what? Like, you didn't tell me that you weren't cool. And I was like, but I thought you'd slow, like
that's not in your thing. Like, that's not something you would want.
No.
So, you know what I mean? It wouldn't work. So that's again, she had to kind of like, am I cool with this? No, I'm not. Yeah. Okay, let's have that combo. But you know,
and you know, luckily for us, it ended up where your career path went in a different direction where then you are doing music locally, but just full transparency.
Kind of got lucky.
We got lucky in that sense.
That it worked out to what I liked what I was doing in town. Mm-hmm. She didn't have to put up with me leaving all the time. Mm-hmm. Got lucky. I'll be honest with you. A lot of luck involved there.
There was a lot of luck
But
involved.
if I would have kept pursuing what I was doing and then now all of a sudden there's resentment on both sides, like that's where you don't want to end up.
And obviously we absolutely are obsessed and love each other, but it was it was rough.
Yes.
And the first few years were really tough because of that. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that I wasn't having the conversation with myself and with Evan about like what I could not handle and that I was just assuming that it would slow down. With that being said, from the flip side, let's just say the way that you were speaking about this person, it sounds like you are 1000% in. You're like, this is the love of my life. He's my twin flame. We'd love to hear it and so happy for you. So it seems like you're like, this is my person. We're going to make this work and I adore him. So let's just say you come to then a space where you're like, you know what, if he does this for the rest of his life, for the rest of our lives, I'm okay with it. Mm-hmm. Then just the side piece of that, because even though Evan's not currently, you know, on tour constantly, you still are in a business where there is a good amount of time that you're gone and are super, super busy. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I found, just as an encouraging thing to you, Kelsey, is that I feel like the longer a relationship goes, you find a lot of love and sacredness in seeing your partner do what they're really good at. And there's something about then, as the time has gone between Evan and myself, where then I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so important to have that independence and that autonomy. And then seeing Evan in these spaces where he's so good at what he does and being able to see that and kind of looking at the space sometimes as a way to have independence in a relationship and then fuel the excitement with each other. Mm-hmm. You miss each other. Mm-hmm. There's time spent apart, or then when you're able to come together, you have stories and exciting things. And I know sometimes there's that feeling of like wanting to just, you know, have the consistency and be together all the time. But then apathy can come with that. And there is then the piece of, you know, when you have the ability to miss each other, there's a specialness to that too. Yeah. So I think if you're moving forward saying, you know what, I can handle this for the rest of my life, it's just about communication and being very intentional with your partner, letting your partner know that yes, you indeed miss him when he's gone and quality time is important to you. And so there needs to be some consistency in that quality time, and make sure that maybe you don't have the quantity, but that it is quality when you are with that person. And have designated FaceTime dates when your partner's gone, and just be super intentional about making sure that then you just don't kind of like lose contact over time, where like the more your partner's gone, then it just fizzles away, because then that can build up kind of bitterness too. But I think, you know, again, like Evan said, it's like I was not built to be with someone who's touring 24/7, but with time in our relationship, I found myself enjoying, and I didn't used to like it before, and I found myself now enjoying being with a partner who is gone frequently and very busy, because there's excitement between us. Sure. And more stories and quality time instead of just the excess of time. So just a few thoughts there. Hopefully that helped, Kelsey.
Just be real with yourself.
Yeah.
Don't try to be someone you're not.
Yeah, don't put pressure on yourself to try to be someone who's, you know, oh, I'm okay handling this. Like if you're not, you're not, and that's totally fine. Everyone's wired differently. I'm not okay handling that, and that's okay. And it was okay when I got to the place where I was able to acknowledge that.
I would say most people are not.
Probably.
Like a lot of people can't handle that. But then what was important is that then me, once I discovered that, to be like, okay, now what I have to do is communicate that with my partner, because then that's what's fair to my partner, not just like burying it deep inside. But yeah, just make sure then that you're taking care of you, and obviously your partner sounds amazing and you love each other so much, but also make sure then too that you're getting, you know, you can absolutely adore someone and then be like, well, there's this thing that I do need. And I feel like it's not being met, and that's okay. And then you can have a conversation about that. Yeah. So anywho, we love you. We love you. Good luck.
Best of luck. And family,
we'll see you this Friday.
We'll see you on Friday.
Kisses and hugs.
Love you all. Bye.